Hello, my lovelies. I'm Ginny O, the author with no last name. And this is Ginny O Talks, the part of the program channel where I talk about things in the creative community. And today I want to talk about the WGA strike. I was hoping to put this video out the day that the strike was going to either start, but as of time of recording, it's literally that Tuesday, and I had a POV video going up that day. So it has been roughly a week at the time of posting since the strike started. Hopefully things have either progressed or resolved, but I still want to talk about the WGA strike and why they are striking and why this is important, especially as we go forward with even things in like the traditional book publishing industry. Now, the WGA is striking against the what is called the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, the AMPTP. This includes Netflix, Amazon, Apple, Disney, Discovery Warner, NBC Universal, Paramount, and Sony. So those are like your major, I think that's 6 of the only one that seems to be missing is Viacom, which might be part of Sony or Paramount. That's like your major 6 producers and creators of content in Hollywood and on the East Coast. So they had been trying to negotiate with them for roughly 6 weeks. They had called a vote where quite like the largest number of people who are part of the Writers Guild voted than have ever voted, and 90% of those who voted voted to say we need to go on strike if they aren't willing to negotiate. And the WGA also on their Twitter, I believe, put up the proposals that they've had. Yes, they've had proposals, and they are up on Twitter to look at. The one I'm seeing, it is Adam Conover had put them up, so as well on his Twitter, so you could read over what the WGA wanted and what the AMPTP were offering in return. So basically, as usual, they're asking for better wages, better working conditions, things that we always, when there's a union, always have to be like advocating for, because corporations do not want to pay people adequate wages. And when you are part of the Writers Guild or part of something very creative, and this goes for traditional publishing, video games, and especially for television and movies, your scripts, your writing is the most important thing. The quality of your script, the rather than the, I don't know, high or uniqueness of your concept, the quality of your script is going to attract your producers, it's going to attract your directors, and most importantly, in the Hollywood industry, it's going to attract your actors. Actors, most of them, just, if the script is trash in their opinion, they're just not going to, take it unless they have absolutely no other choice. So that's what they're calling for in like the generalities. They want, they want to be able to be paid a decent living wage and have their health benefits and so on and so forth. That's normal. But what they are also advocating against, which is or might fly under the radar for a lot of people, are these things that corporations are doing to cut costs and not bring in a guild-associated WGA writer. Things such as mini rooms, And instead of having a full-on script writing room, they have these mini rooms and the use of artificial, or rather adaptive intelligence in writing scripts. AI, we are fighting it off everywhere! Everywhere! Little things! You, good, back. And one of the comments I saw on one of the articles I was reading about this whole thing was they should take whatever they can get, because script GPT is going to take all our jobs in the upcoming years. This is part of the program where we throw back our heads and laugh. Ready? Ready. Okay. That's not going to happen. Well, so let's start with the mini rooms, and I'll try to explain this as succinctly as possible. And it might explain to you, if you're watching a show and script quality seems to be doing this. It seems to be going up and then going down, or it's very uneven. So what a mini room is instead of having a writing room that is available to every week of production, with 6 or 7 writers in it that are working on the scripts of your 8 to 10 or more episode season, what you have are these writers are getting a 6-week gig where they sit in a room and they come up with basically an outline and a synopsis of all the episodes. And then those outlines and synopses are turned over to the showrunner, who has to make scripts out of them as they're filming the show. If I've got that completely wrong, or, you know, not quite right, you know, please correct me in the comments. But that was the general gist I was getting from these several different places I was reading. There was someone on Tumblr who was talking about, you know, they had personal experience with this. So instead of having a steady job for several months, or if you're part of the writer's room for multiple seasons, several years, you will have a 6-week writing gig. And then you have to go and find the next 6-week writing gig. And on and on and on it goes. And this burns out the writers themselves. They're not being paid a lot of money to do this, because it's kind of more like that preconception concept work, stuff that you do in advance to try to, you know, sell the show and, you know, plan out the show. And then you're supposed to, as a writer's room, work out the entire scripts of the readings of the show before all the actors show up, you know, over several weeks or months. And so you're compressing all this down to 6 weeks, and then you're leaving the showrunner to write all the scripts themselves. And that's really hard on a showrunner. I mean, television and film are not like writing a book, okay? In television and film, the turnaround time is so much faster and so much more, you know, collaborative, and so much more intensive than writing a book, that you need those 6 to 7 people in that room to be sitting there and bouncing ideas off of each other and doing kind of this group editing on the fly of, no, this isn't going to work. No, we can't do that if that's where we want the season to end. You know, so they'll be doing all this work. And for cartoons, it's even worse, because you got to storyboard it. And sometimes television shows do the storyboarding too. And I mean, a lot of movies also do storyboarding before they get into shooting. I mean, you have companies now doing quote-unquote storyboarding in 3D. Like, holy crap. So they have all their camera angles and everything all sorted out before filming even begins. So you've got all these writers in that room though. So they're working out all the dialogue and trying to keep all the characters in character, you know, and it's a real collaborative effort. And a lot of times in these writing rooms, you'll be saying, well, the credit is being said it goes to this person or that person, or the writer was this person. That person is, you know, the writer's room will come out and say it. This person did a really good job on this episode and we wanted them to get the credit. It was still a collaborative effort, but they went above and beyond for this episode, so we wanted them to have the credit for it. So to say, you know, to have all these little mini rooms, that's a burnout for the writers. And then the showrunner having to actually write the scripts, that's a burnout for the showrunner. And you have a lot of shows, especially from Disney and Netflix, that are going from 22 episode seasons that you normally see on television, where they split it up over, you know, either into thirds or into halves because, you know, basketball. You're getting things down to these 8 to 10 season episodes. So they're losing half of their job as it is, you know, and this is creating where you have this very uneven type of stuff. I don't know, say, if The Mandalorian was done with a mini writing room versus a full-fledged writing room, but let me tell you, the writing is so uneven, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a mini room. So, you know, you have a really great episode, and the great episode is really great, but the bad episode is really, really bad. Whereas if, you know, you had a full writing room in a 22 episode season, the bad episode wouldn't stand out as much because there's probably going to be a lot more mediocre episodes and a lot more good episodes to, you know, outshine the stinker, or, you know, what were they thinking episode. And, you know, that's how you get a lot of filler. You know, plot doesn't just advance because of explosions and gunfights and, you know, things like that. You still have these character plots, you have character beats and, you know, emotional arcs, and, you know, if you take those out, your story feels very, very bare, and that's what you lose when you go from a 22 season arc to an 8 season arc. You lose a lot of that character building and emotional building, the emotional arcs of a season. So these mini rooms are just bad for writers all around. You know, they're not getting enough money, they're burning out. It's just, they have to constantly be looking for work. And then it puts a lot of burden on the showrunners. That's bad. So, and the second thing they're talking about is the adaptive intelligence script writing. Now, there are like 2 or 3 problems with this. And there's a reason why I laugh, because someone... wow. So, in my feed on Tumblr, I follow somebody who has been trying to come up with this type of artificial intelligence. And he's been playing with ChatGPT for a bit. And I read through what he's doing and read through, you know, skim what the ChatGPT is spilling out from his prompts, and I just cringe. The scripts, the dialogue I'm seeing from ChatGPT is very wooden, it's very awkward, it's just doesn't flow naturally when you're reading it. It just doesn't sound human. It's uncanny valley for a script. And so, you know, they're like, well, you know, they still have to be trained more, and, you know, the more you put into it, the more data sets, the better we'll get. It's not there yet. And let me tell you, people aren't, once that kind of novelty wears off, unless you find continually novelty in it, it's not ever even going to be even a tool. It's not going to be a good tool. Now, like, people are like, well, if you're stuck on something, you can put the input into ChatGPT and you can get several variations. And it's just like, Or I could go take a shower. Or go take a nap. Or go make myself a snack. And, or wash the dishes. Believe me, my brain can come up with 2 or 3 different ways of doing things probably a lot faster by going and taking a walk around the park to get myself unstuck than using ChatGPT, because anything that I come up with out of ChatGPT or that ChatGPT spits back at me, I'm not coming up with it, I'm just coming up with the prompt, I can't use anyway. It is literally uncopyrightable. There's no way to credit anybody or anything with an AI program. And the Writers Guild of America is bringing this up because you do not know where the artificial adaptive intelligence is pulling this stuff from. You cannot copyright it. It's not an idea. It's not as an idea, not as a finished result. I mean, you can't copyright ideas anyway, but not as a finished result, because the AI cannot be credited, because the AI is pulling from stuff that people have already created. It's adaptive. It's not deductive, intuitive. It's just adapting stuff that's already out there. Okay? In a very wooden, awkward, uncanny valley-like way. So you have people who are part of the Writers Guild who have shown up at these productions, and they're, being handed stuff that has been outputted by ChatGPT or ScriptGPT, and they're reading it over, and they've been asked to fix it like they're script doctors, and they're telling the people, this is garbage. I can't doctor this. What's your idea? We have to start from scratch. So you're wasting a lot of time using this artificial intelligence. But they want to do it because they seem to think that this is a shortcut to, I don't know. So we have this kind of conundrum here. Because of the mini rooms, because they've had all these writers coming in and hashing out all these ideas, for the showrunners, and writing up synopses and doing episode outlines and stuff like that, they know this has been coming. The WGA does this every 3 years, so they know this is coming. So they have a backlog of these ideas and outlines and stuff that they could use. But they don't have a finished product. They don't have the finished scripts, okay? That's all they've got. So if you're worried, oh my god, we're gonna get a whole bunch of rash of really bad shows, well, that means you're kind of proving the WGA's point. You believe that there needs to be a human writer to create good scripts, but also it's just, they're doing this just to save money. They're making $28 billion in profit, probably collectively. That's just the number I saw thrown around. And you have to remember, profit is unpaid wages. They have more than enough money to pay the Writers Guild, fair wages, and to, give them health care. And the money is there. It's not a problem of money. It's a problem the corporations don't want to spend the money because they have, I don't know, money go brrr syndrome or something, honestly. So we have to, we're in this conundrum of, the conundrum is, with the Writers Guild on strike, it's possible we're going to get bad shows. And, but if the Writers Guild didn't do this, didn't go on strike, didn't try to negotiate, did not push back against adaptive intelligence, we would still be getting bad shows because writers are getting burnt out. Writers are being forced to deal with ChatGPT and ScriptGPT type of scripts that aren't worth anything, and they're like, oh, you need to doctor these. Well, they can't be doctored. So we'd be getting, they'd spend a lot of time and energy arguing that these can't be used before they could actually get to work. And if the Writers Guild, allowed this to continue, we would just continue to get mediocre and worse and more uneven television, while the corporations and profit, keep trying to gain more and more profit because they want all the money. Um, there was one other thing in there too about residuals and stuff like that, and that's very much an industry thing about how the Writers Guild, how they get paid in residuals, and how long it takes for it to become a residual, and how these streaming services are taking shows off streaming before they can start making those residuals. The Writer Guild writers are losing money through that too, but that's kind of more of a industry thing, and I'm not entirely sure I want go over it more than just that 30 seconds. So, but they are fighting for a lot of things, and what is important is, in terms of quality television, is them not being forced into these little 6-week mini rooms, and not being forced to, or not having to even be exposed to the crap that's coming out of these script GPTs and these chat GPTs, adaptive intelligences that are being, that everything is being pulled from things that people have already done, and like there's no, against everybody's permission too, so you have to think about, where is this coming from? Did they get permission to use it? Are they pay? If you put stuff from somebody's a Writer Guild of America writers show into a chat data set, into one of these data sets, they're copyrighted scripts and materials. They should be getting paid for you using those copyrighted materials in the data set. That's just, otherwise you're stealing from them. So it's one of those things that we still haven't dealt with as a society. So that's pretty much as narrow as I can make it. Fighting for better wages, fighting for their, whether or not they're going to change the way the residuals work, I don't know, but fighting for more residuals and making streaming services keep stuff up longer to continue to pay them, because we know streaming services, to save $2 million or $2 billion will cut $21 billion worth of stuff. Looking at you, HBO. So, and then they're fighting against these mini rooms, which have really changed the landscape of television writing and how they're being paid. Writers aren't paid very well to begin with, to be pulling this type of nonsense, and the adaptive intelligence type of issues. So stand behind the WGA, because if the WGA wins, that means we get better television again. And if they don't do this, or if they let this go, or if they didn't strike, or if they lose the strike, we're just gonna get more and more of this uneven, mediocre, very awkward television. So if you want to support them, they have information up on Twitter on how to support them, and they also have I go to Tumblr and I search the tag WGA, and it will come up with information on how to support them too. Don't watch reality TV. Come on, very easy. That's very easy to do. And if you are a writer yourself and you see a lot of these contracts coming up for these different production companies, don't take the contracts, because that's being a scab, and then you won't be able to join the WGA. They're being very, very clear about that one. If you write for a company and you're not part of the WGA and you want to become part of the WGA, if you write during this strike, you can't ever become part of the WGA. That's just the way it is. So take care of yourselves, my lovelies. Bless. Stay safe. Go WGA, go! And I'll see you in the next video.